Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is the place where we take stacks of complicated research, articles, and personal notes, and we distill them down to the purest, most actionable knowledge you need to be well-informed.
Or in today's case, incredibly well-spoken.
Exactly. And today, we are diving deep into a topic that is, I think, just foundational for anyone communicating in a global world.
We're talking about how to transform your English speaking from, a stressful academic exercise into a confident, natural tool. Our sources for this have synthesized years of linguistic research and just practical teaching experience.
And they've boiled it all down into a really precise roadmap of just 15 rules.
Just 15.
I love that framing here. Minimalist. When we say these rules are minimalist, what we really mean is we're cutting through all the noise.
Right.
We are not going to talk about, complicated grammar theories or these overwhelming vocabulary lists. This is a framework of simple, essential, no-nonsense principles.
And they're designed for you to use immediately.
The core insight driving this whole deep dive is that in language learning, less is truly more.
It really is. These 15 principles are the levers that give you the most dramatic results for the least amount of effort. If you, the listener, feel overwhelmed by all the strategies out there,
And there are hundreds.
oh, thousands, our mission today is to narrow that focus completely. We're basically providing a shortcut to confidence.
That's our promise. Stop spreading your energy across 100 different techniques and just focus on these 15 simple habits. If you follow them consistently, we guarantee you will see a profound difference in your speaking.
And more importantly, in your confidence. We are moving past the concept of studying English and into the dynamic reality of using English. That shift in perspective is everything.
Okay, let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into the foundation of this framework, starting with rule number 1.
So rule number 1 is, I believe, non-negotiable. It's the key that unlocks this whole system.
And that rule is speak in short sentences.
This is so foundational because it directly addresses the single biggest struggle for, I think, most learners.
Cognitive overload.
Exactly. Cognitive overload.
Okay, so let's break that down. Why do learners, especially if their own language uses these long, complex structures, why do they insist on trying to do that in English?
Well, it really boils down to two things: translation and pride.
Pride.
Yeah. The learner is often trying to take a long, sophisticated thought from their native language and translate it directly, in real time. They feel that if their thought is complex, their English sentence has to be complex too.
Or it won't seem as smart.
Right. And what happens halfway through that process of translating and speaking?
The wheels just come off.
Completely. The learner is trying to juggle too many things at once. The vocabulary for the next part of the sentence, the correct verb tense that's buried deep inside.
The right preposition where the sentence even started.
Exactly. And that level of mental juggling is it's not sustainable at the speed of a real conversation.
So they get lost. They forget the word they were looking for. The grammar starts to break down, and the sentence just kind of stalls out.
Right. Or it sounds really disjointed, and the outcome is always frustration. And it builds this habit of slowing down or just, censoring yourself before you even speak.
It reinforces that negative idea that speaking English is hard.
The minimalist solution here is just so elegant in its simplicity. Stop trying to run these linguistic marathons.
Exactly. Instead of that one exhausting multi-clause sentence, you just use a series of short sprints. You break the idea into 2, 3, maybe even 4 simple sentences.
Yeah, let's use the example from our sources. Imagine trying to say this whole thing in one go. Yesterday, I went to the store because I needed to buy milk and bread, but when I arrived, they were unfortunately sold out of the specific type of bread I like, which meant I then had to travel to a different store across town.
Wow. Okay, even for me as a native speaker, that's a mouthful.
Yep.
You need to plan your breathing for that one.
For sure. For someone under conversational pressure, it's just a setup for failure.
Okay, so now compare that big, heavy sentence to the simple version.
Right. So you break it down. Yesterday, I went to the store. I needed milk and bread. They didn't have the bread I usually buy, so I went to a different store.
So much clearer. 4 simple, concise sentences. They're easier for the speaker to produce, which means fewer errors and just faster speaking.
And here is the crucial insight. They sound more natural.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Native speakers rely on short, punchy sentences in conversation all the time. We save those really complex, long sentences for, formal writing or a prepared speech.
So if you want to sound conversational, be short.
Be short. It reduces your anxiety and the delivery sounds more fluent. It's a win-win.
Okay, so rule 1 simplifies the structure. It follows then that rule number 2 simplifies the content inside that structure, and that is use simple vocabulary.
This one is so essential for keeping your momentum going. The goal is clarity, right? Communication efficiency. You have to resist that temptation to reach for the most formal, academic, or, complicated word you know.
I see this trap all the time. Learners think that fluency means having this huge vocabulary of fancy words.
And that they have to show it off.
Yeah, the big words mean better English.
It's such a common misconception. But if your goal is just rapid, comfortable conversation, fancy words are like friction. They slow you down.
So let's look at some examples from the sources. Like, why use the word
Remembering utilize when use is right there and it's just as good.
utilize also just sounds more formal.
Mhm.
It changes the tone of the whole conversation, even if you're just talking about using a hammer
Exactly. Or think about the word commence.
instead of start or begin.
Yeah, start is quicker, simpler, and it's not going to break your flow. Replace purchase with buy. Replace assist with help.
And the difficulty isn't just remembering the word itself, is it? It's remembering the context,
Mm.
the words that go with it.
You've hit on such a critical point. If you use a simple word, you already know how to use it. But if you reach for a complicated word, you're much more likely to make a mistake with, say, the preposition that follows it.
And when that happens, you actually make things less clear. You sound awkward instead of impressive.
The visual metaphor the sources use really stuck with me. Trying to use complicated words in a casual chat is like wearing a tuxedo to the beach.
Ah, yeah, that's a good one.
The word itself is fancy, but it's totally wrong for the situation. You want comfortable clothes for communication.
The goal isn't showing off your vocabulary. It's just getting your meaning across efficiently.
And simplicity guarantees that efficiency. It lets you focus your brain power on the important stuff, like flow and timing.
Perfect. Which brings us to rule number 3, which is all about managing that flow. And that is, it's okay to pause.
This rule is basically just permission to be human. So many learners feel like any break in their speech, any little silence, is a failure.
They think they have to speak continuously, super fast.
Yes, they equate speed with fluency, which is a huge misconception.
It's just not true.
Not at all. If you actually listen to a natural conversation, even this one, you'll hear pauses all the time. Native speakers pause to think, to find the right word, or just to breathe.
Speaking without pauses just sounds robotic. It's weird. It sounds like you're reading a script.
Right. Pauses are a natural part of how we speak. The pressure to speak nonstop just raises your anxiety, which makes you stutter and leads to more mistakes. When you give yourself permission to pause, you immediately lower that anxiety.
That's a really deep point. You're lowering your own emotional barriers just by allowing yourself a second to think.
But a long, dead silence can still feel, a little awkward.
Sure.
Which is why our source material really emphasizes using natural fillers. These are your safety nets.
They buy you thinking time.
Exactly, without creating a total void. Words like, well, let me think, or so.
When you use those, you're signaling to the listener, hang on, I'm still thinking, not I've stopped talking forever.
Yes. It maintains the connection. These little sounds are so valuable. They give your brain a few microseconds to find that word or fix the grammar, and it takes the pressure off everyone.
So rule 3 is about permission. Take a breath, use a filler, don't rush yourself into making a mistake just to avoid a little silence.
Exactly. A thoughtful delivery is always better than a rushed one.
That leads us right into rule number 4, which is kind of a continuation of rule 1. It's about prioritizing, and that is focus on verbs, not adjectives.
So if rule 1 is about the length of the sentence, rule 4 is about what's most important inside that short sentence. When you're under pressure, you have to know what is absolutely critical.
And that's the verb.
It's always the verb. The verb is the engine of the sentence. It's the action. Without it, the whole thing just collapses.
So linguistically, the verb decides the whole structure. If you get your verb right, you've basically communicated 70% of your idea.
Pretty much. Adjectives are nice. They're like decoration, but they are absolutely secondary.
So the practical advice is, if you're in a conversation and you're struggling, forget the fancy descriptions and just nail the verb.
Let's think about why adjectives are so tricky in English. English has this very specific, very fixed order for multiple adjectives.
Oh yeah, the dreaded adjective order rule.
Yeah.
Opinion, size, age, shape, color.
Yes. And trying to remember that in the middle of a conversation is just, it's pure mental calculation. It breaks your flow.
So instead of struggling to say, I saw a beautiful, shiny red sports car, which has, what, 4 adjectives in the right order?
You just reduce the mental load, focus on the core message, I saw a car, or if the color is important, I saw a red car.
Communicate the main idea first.
Right. And you might think that sounds boring, but it doesn't. It sounds efficient. The listener would much rather hear a simple, grammatically correct sentence than a complicated, broken one that takes forever to come out.
Excellent. So simplify the structure, simplify the content, manage the flow, and prioritize the core. This brings us to the final rule in this section, rule number 5, which is pure mindset.
Mm-hmm. Don't apologize for your English.
Oh, this is a critical one. That habit of starting a conversation with, sorry, my English is not very good.
It's almost universal for nervous learners.
And it comes from a good place, right? They're trying to be polite, manage expectations, soften any judgment.
That's the intention, yes. But the result is the exact opposite of what they want. The key insight here is that when you apologize, you shift the focus away from your ideas and onto your mistakes.
You're basically handing the listener a red pen and saying, please pay attention to all my grammar errors.
Precisely. You're training them to listen for your flaws, not for your message. And that makes you more nervous, which of course means you'll probably make more errors. It's a self-sabotaging cycle.
So what's the solution? How do we break that habit?
You just speak. Open with your idea. Trust that the listener is way more interested in what you have to say, your story, your opinion, than they are in critiquing your grammar.
And let's be honest, native speakers make mistakes all the time. We use run-on sentences, mix up words. Nobody is perfect.
Not even close. So just release that burden of perfection. Stop signaling weakness before you even start. Your ideas are valuable. Lead with them.
That's the perfect transition into our next section, the shift from internal mindset to actual practical application.
Okay, so let's pivot from mindset to method. Rule number 6 is probably the most accessible, zero-cost way to practice.
And that is, practice speaking to yourself every day.
This rule is so powerful because it just eliminates the biggest barrier most learners have.
Which is not having a conversation partner.
Or not being able to afford a teacher. This method is free, it's private, and you can do it anytime, anywhere.
And it completely removes the fear of being judged because you're the only one listening. You can make wild mistakes, experiment, and nobody knows.
The convenience is just everything. You can do it while you're cooking dinner, walking the dog, whatever. You're turning downtime into training time.
But what should people actually talk about? I think some people feel pressure to have these, really complex thoughts, which kind of defeats the purpose of the first few rules.
That's a great point. The best practice is low-stress narration. Just narrate your reality. Don't try to debate philosophy. Just describe what you're doing.
Like, I'm cracking an egg into the pan. Now I'm looking for the salt. I think I'll wear the green shirt today. Simple stuff.
Exactly that. Or talk about your plans for the day. Or give your opinion on a news story you just read. The content is not important. The consistent act of speaking is.
And the power is in the consistency. Even just 5 or 10 minutes a day adds up to hours and hours of practice over a month.
And it's pure stress-free rehearsal. You're training your brain to switch that internal monologue from your native language to English, which is a massive step towards fluency.
Okay, so we're practicing speaking every day. Rule number 7 then tells us how we should handle the input side of our learning. And that is, listen more than you study.
This is a direct challenge to a lot of traditional language teaching, which is so focused on grammar drills and memorization.
The classic trap of spending hours on verb charts and only a few minutes actually listening to how people talk.
Right. And the research is very clear on this. Listening is essential because it's how you absorb natural English. The rhythm, the intonation, the way sentences are really put together, which, textbooks can't really teach you.
It's like the difference between memorizing sheet music and actually listening to the song being performed. You can know the rules, but you don't know the feel of it without a ton of input.
That's a perfect analogy. You need to flood your brain with language you mostly understand so the patterns can be absorbed subconsciously.
So what's the recommendation for time? How much listening?
The suggestion from the sources is pretty radical. At least half of your study time, so 30 minutes of every hour, should be dedicated to active listening. Maybe even more.
And what kind of material is best?
You want to prioritize spoken English that sounds like a conversation. So podcasts like this one, documentaries, TV shows, audiobooks, and crucially, the sources recommend these over music.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second. A lot of people love learning with music.
And music is great for motivation and memorizing some vocabulary, but for learning conversational structure, it's a mixed bag.
Why is that?
Because song lyrics often bend or break grammar rules to fit a rhyme or a rhythm. They use unusual or poetic vocabulary. If you're trying to learn how people actually talk, conversational audio is just far more reliable.
That's a really key distinction. So rule 7 is become a language sponge.
And once you're listening a lot, rule number 8 turns that passive absorption into an active skill, and that is repeat what you hear out loud. This is a technique called shadowing.
Shadowing. It's so powerful, but I feel like it's often overlooked. It's the bridge between listening and speaking.
It forces your mouth, your tongue, your throat, your whole speech apparatus to work with your brain's listening center. It's basically physical training for your mouth.
And it helps you internalize the music of the language, right? The rhythm, the stress, the intonation, not just the words.
You've nailed it. English is a stress-timed language. Not every syllable gets equal weight. Shadowing forces you to copy that rhythm. If you just study the words on a page, you miss the music completely.
So how do you do it effectively? What's the method?
Start with a very short, clear audio clip. Just one sentence. Listen to it once, then pause the audio.
And then?
Immediately repeat it out loud. Try to match the speaker's tone, their pace, their pronunciation as perfectly as you can.
It feels really weird at first, like you're just mimicking someone.
It should feel weird. That's how you know you're doing it right. You're forcing your mouth to make new shapes and sounds, but that discomfort is growth. Repeat that same little phrase a few times until it feels a bit more natural, then move to the next one.
It's undeniable. It trains your body and your brain at the same time.
Ah.
Okay, so that's rule 8.
Now, rule number 9 addresses the psychological pressure that comes with making those sounds, and that is, don't worry about accent, worry about clarity.
This is maybe the biggest confidence killer out there. So many learners get obsessed with having a perfect American or British accent.
And they hold back from speaking because they're afraid their accent gives them away. That obsession is just, it's not necessary and it's counterproductive. English is a global language. It's spoken fluently by billions of people with all kinds of accents. Think about speakers from India, Nigeria, Singapore.
All fluent, all with their own distinct accents.
Exactly. The focus has to shift from getting rid of your accent to maximizing your clarity. That's it.
The only question that matters is, can people understand what you're saying?
That's the only question. If the answer is yes, your accent is fine, it's part of who you are, so just focus on clear pronunciation and a reasonable pace. Those are clarity issues, not accent issues.
Once you let go of that, the pressure just vanishes, and you're free to focus on your message.
Which is liberating. And that clarity gets a huge boost from rule number 10. Learn phrases, not just words.
This is one of my favorites. It's one of the best ways to sound more fluent, like, instantly.
It's about building with pre-made parts, instead of starting from scratch every single time. Linguists call them chunks.
Okay, so let's break down why learning a whole phrase is so much better than just learning a list of words.
Well, when you learn one word, let's say the word help, you still have to figure out how to put it in a sentence. Is it help to me, help me, can you help? You have to do all that grammatical calculation in your head.
And that's what slows you down and breaks your flow.
Exactly. But if you just learn the whole phrase, can you help me? You've already absorbed the correct grammar and context. Your brain can just grab that whole chunk and use it.
It's a massive shortcut. Like when you meet someone new, you don't invent a greeting, you just pull out the phrase, nice to meet you.
Right. Or you say, I think so, instead of trying to build a sentence around the verb think. By collecting and practicing these set phrases, your speech stops sounding like a slow calculation.
And starts sounding like natural, fluid conversation.
Exactly. You're freeing up your brain power to focus on the unique parts of your message. So collect those phrases. They're like currency for fluency.
Okay, we've covered the basic tools and practice techniques. Now we're moving into the final stage, which is mastery through the right mental framework. Rule number 11 is, well, it might be the toughest one for perfectionists.
It definitely is. The rule is, make mistakes on purpose.
That sounds so counterintuitive.
It does, but it's absolutely critical. The biggest barrier for so many learners isn't a lack of knowledge, it's the terror of making a mistake. And that fear makes them freeze up or just not speak at all.
And if you're not speaking, you're not getting better. You're just stuck.
Right. So you have to reframe what a mistake is. A mistake isn't a failure, it's data. It's valuable information. Rule 11 is about shifting from avoiding mistakes to embracing them as a necessary part of growth.
So the advice is to just go for it, to try that new word even if you're not sure, to attempt that tricky sentence structure.
Yes. Speak even if you're only 70% sure you're right, because when you make that mistake, you get instant feedback. The listener might correct you, or you'll see from their face they're confused, or you'll notice it yourself later.
And that feedback, is what you need to actually improve. If you stay silent, that feedback loop never starts.
You stay at the same level forever. So mistakes aren't progress killers, they are progress indicators. They show you where you need to grow. Be brave, make those mistakes, and treat them like milestones.
Communication over perfection. That's the theme. And that fear of mistakes leads right into rule number 12.
Think about meaning, not grammar.
This one is about keeping the conversation moving. The speed of a real chat just doesn't allow for real-time grammar calculation.
We call it the grammar trap. The learner stops mid-sentence and thinks, wait, is this past tense or present perfect? Should I use a or the here?
And by the time they figure it out, the conversation is 3 topics ahead. They're stuck in their own head, not in the conversation.
And their speech becomes slow and hesitant. It's frustrating for them and for the listener.
Okay, I want to go a little deeper here because this is so important. How can we just trust our brains to get the grammar right?
It's about the difference between two types of knowledge. There's declarative knowledge, which is knowing the rules from a textbook. And then there's procedural knowledge, which is the unconscious ability to just do something.
Like riding a bike.
Exactly like riding a bike. You don't think about the physics, you just do it. When you listen a lot and practice speaking, your brain absorbs grammar patterns subconsciously. It builds that procedural knowledge.
So during a conversation, if you focus on your message, your brain will automatically pull up those patterns.
Right. They might not be 100% textbook perfect, but they'll be good enough to communicate, and that's the key.
They're communicative. And you maintain your speed and your flow.
Exactly. Accuracy will get better over time as you make mistakes and get feedback. But if you keep stopping to check the rule book in your head, you'll never build that fluency. So just focus on the message.
Focus on the meaning. Trust your brain. But to get better, you need a way to check in on yourselves, which brings us to Rule 13. Record yourself speaking.
I know. This makes almost everyone uncomfortable. Nobody likes the sound of their own voice.
I still hate it.
Me too. But this technique gives you objective data that you just can't get any other way.
So why is listening to a recording so much better than just trying to notice your mistakes as you speak?
Because when you're speaking, your brain is 100% focused on producing the message. You're literally deaf to your own small mistakes in the moment. You don't hear the mispronunciations or the repeated grammar errors.
But when you listen back to the recording, you can switch your focus from what you said to how you said it.
Exactly. You become your own coach. You might listen back and realize, oh, I keep forgetting the es on my verbs, or my intonation goes up at the end of every sentence, so everything sounds like a question.
You can spot your own patterns, your blind spots.
And the best way to do this is to make it a small, sustainable habit. Record a 2 or 3 minute monologue once a week. Talk about your day. Then listen back and take 1 or 2 notes. One thing you did well, one thing to work on.
And over time, you create a real record of your progress. Hearing yourself improve over a few months has got to be a huge motivator.
It's the best motivation there is. Okay, rule number 14 is about efficiency and avoiding burnout. Quality over quantity.
This one goes against that hustle culture idea that you have to study for like 3 or 4 hours every single day or you'll fail.
Right. That mentality just leads to exhaustion. The moment learning feels like a heavy chore, you're going to lose your motivation.
So the minimalist approach is about the intensity of your focus.
Exactly. 20 minutes of fully focused, engaged practice is so much more valuable than 2 hours where you're distracted, checking your phone, and thinking about something else.
We're aiming for intentional practice.
The sweet spot is around 20 to 30 minutes per session. It's short enough that it's hard to make an excuse not to do it, and it's short enough that you can maintain super high focus.
So phone off, notifications silenced, just total commitment for that short period.
It makes learning sustainable. It's so much better to do 20 focused minutes every day for a year than to try to do 3 hours a day and quit after 2 weeks.
That feels so much more manageable. Okay, and finally, rule number 15, which is the ultimate rule that ties everything together.
Use English in real life, not just in class.
This is the big one. This is where English stops being a school subject and starts being a tool you actually use.
And that integration is absolutely vital for fluency. When you use English for a real purpose, it becomes meaningful. When you need the words to follow a recipe or to talk about your favorite movie, your brain holds onto them so much better.
You're connecting the language to your own life, your own passions, and it makes learning fun instead of a chore.
The sources give so many great, simple examples. Change the language on your phone to English.
Search online in English.
Watch your favorite YouTubers in English. Write your shopping list in English. These tiny acts make English a part of your daily life.
And the really big one is joining online communities, forums, Discord servers, whatever, for your hobbies, where people are actually talking to each other in English.
Yes, because that forces real, unpredictable communication. You move past the textbook dialogues and into the beautiful mess of how people actually talk. Rule 15 is about living the language you want to learn. Hashtag conclusion and action.
Okay, we have just powered through 15 incredibly valuable, actionable rules. That's a lot to take in, so let's do a quick, rapid-fire recap of the whole minimalist framework.
Let's do it. We covered structure, content, mindset, and practice.
Rule 1, speak in short sentences.
Rule 2, use simple vocabulary. No tuxedos on the beach.
Rule 3, it's okay to pause.
Rule 4, focus on verbs, not adjectives.
Rule 5, don't apologize for your English.
Rule 6, practice speaking to yourself every day.
Rule 7, listen more than you study.
Rule 8, repeat what you hear out loud. Shadowing.
Rule 9, worry about clarity, not accent.
Rule 10, learn phrases, not just words.
Rule 11, make mistakes on purpose.
Rule 12, think about meaning, not grammar.
Rule 13, record yourself speaking.
Rule 14, quality over quantity.
And Rule 15, use English in real life.
The beautiful thing about this whole system is that it's not a punishing checklist. If you try to do all 15 things tomorrow, you'll burn out. The real minimalist approach is to build these habits slowly.
That slow, steady progress is so much more powerful than a big, unsustainable burst of effort.
Which, it reminds me of when I was trying to learn Spanish a few years ago. I basically violated every single one of these rules.
Oh no. What were your biggest mistakes?
My biggest violations were rules 1, 2, and 11. I felt this intense pressure to sound smart, so I would try to build these long, complicated sentences in my head.
You were translating your complex thoughts directly.
Completely, and I would get halfway through, realize I didn't know a word or a verb conjugation, and I'd just stop. It made my speech so hesitant and slow.
You were breaking Rule 12 by overthinking the grammar, and Rule 3 by having these long, awkward silences.
Exactly. And the worst part was the fear. I was terrified of making a mistake, so I would often just say nothing at all, rather than risk being wrong. My progress was just painful.
That sounds absolutely exhausting. The constant self-censoring.
It was, and then my teacher, she noticed my frustration, and she pulled me aside, and she didn't teach me a new grammar rule. She gave me the ultimate minimalist command.
The big breakthrough moment. What did she say?
She just looked at me and said, "Stop trying to sound smart. Just communicate. Use the simplest words you know. Just talk."
She gave you permission to be simple.
Exactly. And the moment I let go of trying to be impressive and just focused on being understood, the stress just, it melted away. My speaking got faster, not because I knew more, but because I stopped getting in my own way.
That story just perfectly captures how powerful these rules are when they work together. It reminds me of a student I had when I was teaching in Japan. His name was Kenji. Brilliant guy, an accountant.
So let me guess. He knew all the grammar rules perfectly.
Spot on. He could ace any grammar test you gave him. But in a conversation, he was painfully slow. Every single sentence was a calculation.
A classic Rule 12 violator. Always thinking grammar, never meaning.
Exactly. Is this the right article? Am I using the right preposition? It was killing his confidence, so I finally gave him a challenge.
What did you tell him to do?
I told him for 1 week he was forbidden from thinking about grammar when he spoke. I said, your mission this week is to make as many mistakes as possible.
He must have been horrified. That goes against everything he'd learned.
He was. I had to convince him that the mistakes were just data. I was forcing him to embrace Rule 11 and abandon Rule 12. I just told him, focus on your message. Get your idea out.
So what happened?
The first couple of days were hard, but by the middle of the week, something clicked. He started realizing that even when he made a mistake, like mixing up a verb tense, people still understood him. The world didn't end.
His confidence must have just skyrocketed.
Totally. After that 1 week, his speed and his fluency improved dramatically. He was still making mistakes, but they were fast mistakes. He was communicating. He finally understood that the point of language is connection, not calculation.
That is the beautiful final message of all 15 rules. The one idea that ties them all together is communication over perfection.
You don't need perfect grammar or a perfect accent. You just need to be clear and courageous.
And that's what these 15 rules give you. A path to remove the anxiety, simplify the effort, and focus only on what really works.
So we don't want you to just listen to this and feel overwhelmed. We want you to take immediate, focused action.
That's why we're issuing a specific challenge. For the next 7 days, we want you to confidently pick 3 rules from this list. Just 3.
Maybe your biggest problem is hesitation, so you pick Rule 3. It's okay to pause. Rule 5, don't apologize. And Rule 11, make mistakes.
Or maybe you need to simplify your structure, so you pick Rule 1, short sentences, Rule 2, simple vocabulary, and Rule 10, learn phrases.
Pick the 3 that speak to you the most. And for 1 week, actively apply them every time you speak English.
And just notice the difference. See how your confidence changes. See how your flow improves.
Take that action. Start today. #tag outro.
We really hope this deep dive has shown you that becoming a fluent English speaker doesn't have to be this complicated, stressful struggle. It just requires focus, simplicity, and bravery.
And if you're wondering where to start right now, our advice is always the same. Start with Rule 1. Speak in short sentences. It's the one principle that makes everything else so much easier.
Once you get comfortable with short, clear sentences, all the other rules just fall into place more naturally.
We would genuinely love to hear how it goes for you. Share the 3 rules you chose for your 7-day challenge and let us know what you noticed. Connecting with you and hearing about your journey is, honestly, the best part of what we do.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the blueprint for minimalist fluency. Just remember, your progress isn't a question of if but when, as long as you stay consistent and brave enough to speak.
Brave enough to make those mistakes, learn from them, and just keep moving forward.
Keep speaking.
And keep it simple. We'll talk to you next time.